The moment before a miracle is often the most uncomfortable moment you will ever live through. It is the space where nothing makes sense, yet everything is being arranged. It is the season where heaven is silent, the ground beneath you feels unstable, and your faith is the only thing keeping you standing. This is not the absence of God. This is preparation. This is the divine pause before a supernatural release. Prepare yourself. A miracle is on the way. Most people expect miracles to arrive with warning signs, with ease, with applause, but miracles rarely announce themselves. They often come disguised as pressure, delay, or confusion, what you call frustration. God calls formation. What you see as a setback, heaven sees as alignment. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. Preparation always precedes manifestation. Preparation always comes before manifestation. And this truth is often misunderstood because people associate miracles with sudden change rather than intentional process. When you are waiting for a breakthrough, it is easy to believe that nothing is happening, but preparation is rarely visible. It takes place beneath the surface, in the unseen spaces where faith is tested and character is formed. God does not rush miracles because anything released before its time can damage the very person it was meant to bless. What feels like delay is often God strengthening your foundation so the miracle does not collapse you when it arrives. Preparation is uncomfortable because it confronts who you are now with who you must become. When God prepares someone, he stretches their mindset, challenges their patience, and exposes their dependence on comfort rather than faith. This is why seasons of preparation often feel heavier than seasons of blessing. You are being trained to carry more, not punished for wanting more. The tension you feel is not resistance from heaven, but evidence that something new is being shaped within you. Many people quit during preparation because they mistake silence for absence. But God works most deeply when he appears most quiet. Just as seeds grow underground before breaking the surface, your miracle is developing in hidden places. Roots must go deep before growth can go high. If God revealed everything he was doing too early, you might rely on sight instead of faith. Preparation teaches you to trust God without needing constant reassurance. Preparation also removes what cannot go with you into the next season. Certain habits, relationships, and mindsets that once felt safe become heavy when elevation is near. God allows separation not to wound you, but to free you. Holding on to the wrong things limits your ability to receive the right ones. Sometimes the pain of letting go is actually protection, because what you release now would have restricted your future. During preparation, God refines your motives. He shifts your focus from what you want to why you want it. A miracle rooted in selfish desire will eventually collapse, but a miracle grounded in purpose will multiply. That is why preparation often humbles you. It strips away pride and replaces it with dependence. You learn that the miracle is not about proving anything to others, but about fulfilling what God has entrusted to you. Preparation demands obedience before evidence. You are asked to move without full understanding, to trust without complete clarity, and to remain faithful without immediate reward. This is where faith becomes real. It is easy to believe when results are visible, but preparation teaches you to believe when results are absent. Obedience in uncertainty builds a faith that can withstand both success and disappointment. There is also emotional preparation. God strengthens your resilience so you do not break under pressure once the miracle arrives. Sudden breakthroughs can overwhelm unprepared hearts. That is why God teaches you endurance now. The patience you develop in waiting will become stability and blessing. The discipline you learn in lack will become wisdom and abundance. Preparation reshapes your perspective. You stop seeing obstacles as enemies and start recognizing them as tools. Every challenge becomes a lesson, every delay a refinement. What once frustrated you now strengthens you. You begin to understand that God is not just interested in changing your situation, but in transforming you. The miracle is not only what happens around you, it is also what happens within you. In preparation, God aligns timing and capacity. He knows exactly when you will be strong enough, wise enough, and ready enough to receive what you have been praying for. If the miracle arrived earlier, it might have distracted you from purpose or damaged your faith. God's timing is never about convenience, it is about completeness. The beauty of preparation is that it proves God's care. A God who prepares you is a God who intends to sustain you. When the miracle finally manifests, you will recognize that every tear, every weight, and every test had a purpose. You will see that nothing was wasted. Preparation was not the delay of your miracle. It was the path that made the miracle possible. Delay is not denial. It is alignment. And understanding this truth changes how you experience waiting. When something you have prayed for does not arrive on your timeline, the natural reaction is disappointment, confusion, or self-doubt. You begin to question whether God heard you, whether you missed an opportunity, or whether the promise was ever real. But delay does not mean God has said no. It means he is arranging the moment so that when the answer comes, it comes with maximum impact and minimum damage. God works with precision, not haste. What feels slow to you is often exact timing in heaven. Alignment requires multiple elements to come together at once. Your readiness, the right people, the right environment, and the right season. If even one of these is out of place, the outcome could harm rather than help you. That is why God allows waiting. He is not withholding good from you. He is protecting you from receiving it at the wrong time. Delay exposes what you truly trust. When progress pauses, you can no longer rely on momentum or visible signs. You are forced to rely on faith. This is where alignment begins internally. God aligns your heart before he aligns your circumstances. He adjusts your expectations, purifies your desires, and strengthens your dependence on him rather than on outcomes. Waiting reveals whether your faith is rooted in God's character or in the results you want. Many times, delay is God repositioning you. You might be standing in the wrong place emotionally, mentally, or spiritually to receive what you are asking for. God shifts your location, your mindset, or your associations so that the blessing meets you where it can thrive. What feels like being held back is often being redirected. God knows where the miracle will make sense, not just where you want it to happen. Delay also aligns relationships. Some people cannot go with you into the next season because they would limit you or growth or distort your purpose. God allows time to reveal who belongs and who does not. If the blessing arrived too early, the wrong voices might influence it. Delay gives space for unhealthy attachments to loosen and for the right connections to be positioned. When the miracle comes, it will be surrounded by support rather than strain. Alignment involves maturity. God waits until your capacity matches your prayer. A breakthrough received without emotional and spiritual maturity can become overwhelming. That is why God develops patience, wisdom, and endurance during delay. These qualities are not punishments, they are safeguards. They ensure that when the answer arrives, you can steward it rather than be controlled by it. Delay teaches you to value process over speed. In a world that celebrates instant results, God emphasizes lasting transformation. What he builds through alignment will not collapse under pressure. Quick answers may impress for a moment, but aligned answers endure. God is more interested in stability than speed, more concerned with longevity than urgency. There is also spiritual alignment taking place beyond what you can see. God is arranging circumstances, timing opportunities, and coordinating events that you may never know about. What appears quiet in your life does not mean heaven is inactive. Alignment often happens in silence. God is synchronizing moments so that when the breakthrough occurs, it unfolds naturally rather than forcefully. Delay challenges your obedience. Will you continue to live with integrity when no progress is visible? Will you remain faithful when results are postponed? These choices matter because alignment requires consistency. God aligns blessings with obedience, not with impatience. Staying faithful during delay keeps you in position to receive what is coming. When you finally look back, you will realize that the delay saved you from mistakes you were not ready to handle. It kept you from doors that would have distracted you. It protected you from outcomes that looked good, but were incomplete. What you thought was lost time will be revealed as necessary preparation. Alignment means the miracle arrives when it can flourish, not just when you desire it. The waiting season is shaping the moment of arrival so that it brings peace instead of pressure, joy instead of regret. Delay is not God saying no. It is God saying not yet, because he loves you too much to give you something before everything is in place. Pressure is proof that purpose is near, even though it often feels like the opposite. When life becomes heavier, resistance stronger, and challenges more intense, the instinct is to assume something is wrong. But in many cases, pressure increases not because you are failing, but because you are approaching something significant. Opposition tends to rise when momentum is building because purpose attracts resistance. The closer you get to a breakthrough, the more the process tries to push you out of alignment. Pressure exposes what is inside you. When everything is calm, strength remains hidden. It is only under stress that endurance, faith, and character are revealed. God allows pressure not to crush you, but to show you what He has already placed within you. You are discovering resilience you did not know you possessed. The very fact that you are still standing under the weight proves that you are stronger than you believe. Purpose demands refinement. Raw potential cannot sustain lasting impact. Pressure refines intention, sharpens focus, and removes distraction. It forces you to confront what matters most and to release what no longer serves your calling. In seasons of pressure, unnecessary things fall away naturally because survival requires clarity. God uses this moment to simplify your life so you can move forward with precision. Pressure also clarifies identity. When approval disappears and comfort fades, you are forced to decide who you are without external validation. This is where purpose becomes internal rather than performative. You stop living to impress and start living to obey. The weight of pressure teaches you that your value is not determined by ease, applause, or recognition, but by faithfulness. Many miracles are preceded by moments that feel unbearable. This is because transformation often requires intensity. Just as physical strength is built through resistance, spiritual strength is developed through challenge. The pressure you feel now is stretching your capacity so you can carry more responsibility later. What feels overwhelming today is expanding what you will be able to manage tomorrow. Pressure trains discernment. When options narrow and time feels urgent, you learn to hear God's voice more clearly. Distractions lose their appeal and your focus sharpens. This sensitivity is critical for purpose because direction matters more when impact increases. God uses pressure to tune your spiritual awareness so you do not miss instruction when it matters most. There is also external resistance that comes with purpose. The enemy does not waste effort on things that pose no threat. Increased opposition is often confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. If nothing were ahead of you, there would be no need for pressure behind you. Resistance is not always a sign to retreat. Sometimes it is a signal to stand firm. Pressure reveals commitment. It separates interest from devotion. Many people admire purpose from a distance, but only those willing to endure pressure are prepared to walk in it. This season is proving your dedication. Every time you choose faith over fear, persistence over quitting, you are reinforcing your alignment with what God has called you to do. Pressure also humbles you. It reminds you that strength alone is not enough. You learn to depend on God rather than self-reliance. This dependence is essential for purpose because true impact flows through humility. God resists pride but supports surrender. Pressure keeps your heart teachable so success does not corrupt you when it arrives. What you feel now is not the end of your strength, but the edge of your expansion. You are being stretched because there is more ahead. Pressure is not sent to destroy you. It is allowed to develop you. The discomfort you are experiencing is evidence that growth is taking place. If you could see what is ahead, you would understand why the pressure is necessary. Purpose carries weight, and God is training you to hold it without breaking. Every test is adding to your endurance. Every challenge is strengthening your resolve. You are not being buried by pressure. You are being shaped by it. When the breakthrough comes, the pressure will make sense. You will realize it was not random or cruel. It was preparation for responsibility, influence, and impact. Pressure is proof that purpose is near, and the fact that you are still moving forward means you are closer than you think. Faith must act before evidence appears. And this principle challenges the natural desire for certainty. Human instinct waits for confirmation before commitment, for proof before movement, and for clarity before obedience. But faith operates in the opposite direction. Faith moves first and understands later. It trusts the character of God even when the outcome is unseen. This kind of faith is not comfortable because it requires surrendering control and choosing trust over logic. Acting before evidence does not mean acting recklessly. It means acting obediently. God often gives instruction without Explanation, because explanation can replace trust. If every step were clear, faith would not be necessary. Obedience and uncertainty trains your spirit to rely on God rather than on visible guarantees. This is where faith becomes more than belief. It becomes action. Many miracles remain unrealized because people wait for conditions to improve before they obey. They wait to feel ready, to feel confident, or to feel assured. But faith is not driven by feelings. Feelings change, but obedience anchors you. When God asks you to move, the movement itself becomes the doorway through which evidence appears. The miracle follows obedience, not the other way around. Acting before evidence stretches your courage. It forces you to step out of familiarity into trust. This is why faith often feels risky. You are leaving what you can control for what you must trust God to sustain. But this risk is where growth occurs. Faith that never moves remains theoretical. Faith that moves becomes transformational. This kind of faith requires patience after action. Once you obey, there may still be a waiting period. Evidence does not always appear immediately. This is where many people retreat thinking they made a mistake. But obedience does not guarantee instant results. It guarantees alignment. Faith continues to trust even after the step has been taken and the outcome has not yet appeared. Acting before evidence also reveals priorities. It shows whether obedience matters more to you than outcomes. When you choose to obey even without results, you are declaring that God's instruction is enough. This deepens relationship because it is built on trust rather than transaction. Faith matures when it stops demanding proof and starts practicing obedience. There is vulnerability in acting without evidence. You risk misunderstanding, criticism, and failure in the eyes of others. But faith is not a B. Out public approval, it is about divine alignment. Many people will not understand your obedience because they are looking for logic where faith is required. The courage to act anyway strengthens your spiritual confidence. Faith before evidence also activates provision. Resources, opportunities, and support often appear after you move, not before. God responds to steps of faith by meeting you along the way. If everything were provided in advance, faith would be unnecessary. Movement signals trust, and trust invites provision. This principle reshapes how you view uncertainty. Instead of seeing it as a threat, you begin to see it as an invitation. Uncertainty becomes the environment where faith thrives. The absence of evidence does not mean the absence of God. It means God is inviting you to trust Him more deeply. Acting before evidence builds resilience. You learn to stand firm even when results are delayed. You become less dependent on immediate validation and more grounded in conviction. This strength is essential because faith that collapses under delay cannot sustain breakthrough. When the evidence finally appears, it confirms what faith already believed. But by then, the miracle is not just the outcome. It is who you have become through obedience. You are stronger, steadier, and more secure in your trust. Acting before evidence has reshaped your spiritual posture. Faith that moves first experiences God more personally. You encounter His faithfulness not as theory, but as reality. Obedience opens space for God to demonstrate His power in ways that belief alone cannot. Faith must act before evidence appears because movement is what turns promise into experience. God shapes character before changing circumstances because lasting transformation begins on the inside. It is natural to want situations to change quickly, to desire relief before refinement, but God, priority is not immediate comfort, it is long-term stability. External change without internal maturity creates imbalance. A breakthrough that arrives before character is formed can become overwhelming, destructive, or short-lived. That is why God often works inwardly long before He works outwardly. Character determines how you handle what you receive. Two people can experience the same miracle and have completely different outcomes based on their character. One is strengthened by it, the other is undone by it. God understands this, which is why He focuses on who you are becoming more than what you are gaining. Circumstances can elevate you overnight, but character takes time to build, and God values what endures shaping. Character requires pressure, patience, and consistency. These qualities are not developed in ease. They are formed in seasons where nothing seems to change externally, but everything is shifting internally. Waiting seasons are not empty. They are instructional. God uses repetition, delay, and challenge to teach humility, discipline, and endurance. These traits protect you when circumstances finally change. God often allows circumstances to remain the same while he changes your response to them. This internal shift is evidence of character development. You become calmer where you were once reactive, patient where you were once anxious, faithful where you were once fearful. This transformation is subtle but powerful. When circumstances finally change, you will realize that you are no longer the same person who first prayed for the miracle. Character shaping also exposes weaknesses, not to shame you, but to strengthen you. God brings hidden attitudes to the surface so they can be healed. Pride, impatience, insecurity, and control often appear during waiting seasons. God does not remove these flaws instantly because growth requires awareness. When you see what needs change, you can surrender it. God's focus on character reveals his love. A lesser approach would be to give you what you want quickly and let you suffer the consequences later. But God is invested in your future, not just your relief. He wants your blessing to add peace, not pressure. That is why he teaches stewardship before increase and humility before influence. Character is what sustains success when excitement fades. Miracles can attract attention, but character maintains credibility. God knows that impact without integrity eventually collapses. So he builds integrity first. The unseen work in your heart matters more than the visible change in your life. This process can feel frustrating because character growth is slow and often unnoticed by others. You may feel overlooked or stagnant while God is doing deep work within you. But what feels slow is actually thorough. God is ensuring that when circumstances shift, you are ready to stand without losing yourself. Shaping character also aligns your desires. Over time, what you want begins to match what God wants for you. Your prayers change, your priorities shift. You stop chasing outcomes and start pursuing purpose. This alignment is critical because it ensures that when circumstances change, they serve your calling rather than distract from it. God uses obedience in small things to build character. Faithfulness when no one is watching. Integrity when compromise is easier. Patience when quitting feels justified. These moments shape who you are. They may seem insignificant, but they are foundational. God builds strength quietly before revealing it publicly. When circumstances finally change, you will recognize that the true miracle was not just the breakthrough, it was the transformation. You will handle success with humility, pressure with wisdom, and opportunity with discipline. The waiting S. Eason will make sense because it prepared you to carry what you once asked for. God shapes character before changing circumstances because he cares about permanence, not just progress. He wants what he gives you to last. The inward work ensures that the outward change becomes a blessing rather than a burden. The waiting season is building your testimony, even when it feels like nothing is happening. What you are living through right now is not meaningless delay. It is the shaping of a story that will one day give others hope. Testimonies are not formed in moments of ease. They are born in endurance. Every unanswered prayer, every silent night, every step taken without assurance is adding depth to what God will eventually reveal. Your struggle is not a detour. It is the evidence in progress. A testimony requires contrast. There must be a before so that the after carries weight. That is why the waiting feels heavy. That is why the uncertainty feels uncomfortable. God allows the tension so the transformation will be undeniable. When the miracle arrives, it will not be something you casually mention. It will be something you carry with conviction. People will not just hear what God did, they will see who you became. The waiting season teaches you how to trust God when there is nothing to show for it. This kind of faith cannot be taught in theory. It is learned through experience. When you keep believing despite disappointment, you are building spiritual credibility. Later, when you speak about God's faithfulness, it will not sound borrowed. It will sound lived. Your testimony is being shaped by your response, not just your outcome. How you wait matters. How you speak while waiting matters. How you choose faith over frustration matters. The discipline you develop now will give authority to your voice later. People are drawn to authenticity, and authenticity is formed through endurance. What feels hidden now will one day be highlighted. The prayers you whispered will become declarations. The tears you wiped in private will become proof in public. God never wastes pain. He repurposes it. The very area where you feel weakest will become the place where God's strength is most visible. Waiting seasons also teach compassion. You become more patient with others because you know what it feels like to struggle. You listen more deeply because you remember being unheard. Your testimony will not just inspire, it will heal. God is shaping your heart so your story carries grace, not pride. When the miracle finally arrives, you will recognize that the waiting prepared you to steward it wisely. You will appreciate it differently. You will protect it carefully. You will use it purposefully. The testimony will not be about how fast God moved, but about how faithfully he sustained you. Your testimony is not just for you, it is assigned. Someone else will survive because you did not quit. Someone else will believe because you endured. Someone else will wait because you waited well. God is building something bigger than a moment. He is building a message through your life. And now, as this word settles into your spirit, let it do more than encourage you. Let it anchor you. If this message has stirred your faith, strengthened your resolve, or reminded you that you are not alone in the waiting, stay connected. This is not just a sermon. This is a journey of growth, belief, and preparation. There are more moments like this ahead, more reminders, more strength, more truth for the seasons you are walking through. Stay close to this space where faith is built and hope is renewed. Make the choice to surround yourself with words that lift you when life feels heavy, and truth that grounds you when emotions shift. If this message spoke to you, do not let it stop here. Let it continue to shape you. Choose to stay connected, to return for more encouragement, more clarity, and more faith-building content designed for people who are waiting, believing, and preparing for what God has promised. Your journey matters. Your waiting matters. Your story is still being written. Stay with us as we continue to walk through messages that remind you of who God is and who you are becoming. Keep showing up, keep listening, keep believing. The miracle is on the way, but until it arrives, stay rooted in faith, steady in hope, and connected to words that strengthen your spirit.